So my question is, has Raphinha done enough to make Brazil his team?
I'll answer that easily. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right now, this Brazilian national team, and I hammered them in the last couple windows because they were deserving of it, they look devoid of an identity. And there's this void that creative players and special players can only fill. Neymar, what he meant to the Brazilian national team, he was not just their football leader, he was their spiritual leader, their emotional leader. Right now, Brazil, they need Raphinha, not just his goals that he's scoring for Barcelona, but people forget this guy is also a creative machine. He's got 5 assists in his last 6 matches coming in the international break. So he's on form in terms of creativity. He's the one pulling the strings from a central position. And with Neymar operating in that number 10 position, talking to people associated with Brazil on the ground there, they're saying that fans in Brazil, they're looking to him not just to be the difference maker, but to be that prototypical number 10. He's played it for Barcelona. In that match against Atleti, Hansi Flick brought him into that number 10 position, and it was the parting of the Red Seas. You see the pass that he made to, Ferran Torres?
Yeah.
He needs to do it, and he can do it for Brazil, because with the table, what it is, Brazil are only 1 point ahead of Paraguay, and the pressure is ratcheting up looking at the teams that are playing in Colombia and Argentina.
I mean, you can't be the leader of the team and of the nation and of a national team when you're just not there. And, you know, it seems like there's some type of, I don't know what it is, curse looming over Neymar every single time. It's like he's back from injury. Now it's Brazilian national team call up, and then he gets injured right beforehand. So when you look at how long and how many absences he's had, and most of them are all due to injury, though. So I'm not blaming Neymar. What I'm saying is that when you have a national team, you need a leader that is consistent, to your point, that is ball-in, but also represents the identity of a nation through their footballing characteristics and their ability to pull them through adverse moments. No better player right now for Brazil than Raphinha.
I completely agree. And watching how he'll put the team on his back. They're down a man. They have 10 men on the field. He'll be the one to take the ball and have an audacious shot that ends up going in goal. And I think the most important thing is the spirit that Neymar brought to this team. When you're physically not there, they need somebody like that. Brazil has always had somebody like that, and Raphinha can absolutely be. I mean, look at this man's eyes. That's somebody you want to follow. That intensity, but that passion he has on the pitch, that galvanizes an entire team behind you. With all of that talent, he can lead it.
He looks like me when Jill asked me to answer a word in one word.
One word answer. I'm not going to stop asking that, by the way.
Like, what? I mean, what I will say, though, from an emotional standpoint and from a nostalgic standpoint, these types of era shifts, if you will, are not easy. They really aren't easy. So when you even look back at the time when the team was being handed over to Neymar, you're saying goodbye to the likes of Ronaldinho. You're saying goodbye to players that, you know, globally we love. And globally, we love Neymar. And I think that has been a little bit lost in some of the controversy and absences and going to Saudi and it not working very well and him going back to Santos X, Y, and Z. I think the love for Neymar has been lost. And I don't want to see that, and I don't want to continue to perpetuate that narrative, because how he has really revolutionized football has to be remembered. And his career is not done. The story is not done. And we've seen players completely revitalize themselves, rise from the ashes like a phoenix, and this is a player that has really inspired generations, millions, if not billions of people to not only fall in love with the sport, but to continue to love the game through his expression.
The numbers I really want to point out, because we're talking about their national teams, but when you look at their club appearances, Neymar has managed just 14 appearances over the last 2 years, 4 goals. Raphinha, 79 appearances with 37 goals. So while the love might be lost, it's just a sample size of what people are seeing. Does it have to be, if Raphinha plays brilliantly against Colombia and against Argentina and the people unite around that, should Neymar return, isn't there room for both of them?
Look, I think what you get with Raphinha, you get a game changer, a difference maker, and being in national team pools and camps, there is a sense of culture. And with Brazil, you have to have that ginga. samba, that magic, that special something.
Can't you have it for both guys?
No, and those guys look up to Neymar.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. On the football sense, there is that sense of love lost, but people on the ground, I mean, this guy, he's idolized. He is that still sense of special something in terms of just the fun, the jogo bonito that he brings. I just am curious to see in this window, Raphinha at that number 10 position, a player that I think could benefit significantly from him getting going, Vinicius Jr.
Yes.
Man, Vinny Jr. has been asked to play as a striker. He's been asked to play as a false nine, a winger. He has not been going, and in my opinion, he ceded that throne to Raphinha to be the next man up for Brazil. So if there's love lost for Neymar, there's love gained for Raphinha in this
Vinny Jr.
massive, massive window.
I really love that shout. I also think that pressure being off of Vinny, I don't know if he was in the place to handle it, but I think Raphinha absolutely can. It will also get the best out of Vinny. Now you have me really thinking this, because if Vinny's playing with somebody where there's that enjoyment, that passion, it's Brazil, and Raphinha can actually galvanize that team and lead and get the best out of Vinny by the way he plays, this team is going back to the Brazil that we know and love.
Yeah.
And to answer your question specifically, Jill, is there room for both of them? Are all of the stars? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, there absolutely is. And this was to my earlier point. When you look at the historics of the Brazilian national team that we all fell in love with when we were kids, Lahoud, you have a turning of the guard at all times. When Roberto Carlos is coming to an end, you have players that are coming in. When you have R9 that is, descending, you have Ronaldinho ascending. When Ronaldinho is descending, Neymar is ascending. So it's just an ebb of flow of the times. But when the top dog now is not the top dog, that doesn't mean that they're just completely done and dusted.
It's quite good. I'm not sure it's on my level, but it's quite good. It's quite good.
Let's talk about South America, though. Neymar and Santos, two names that are incredibly famous, but right now in a really poor moment. Tell me about what's going on over there.
Well, it depends on the perspective, but I think Neymar is struggling with Santos. But Santos, to be fair to Neymar, was struggling before his arrival. And a lot of football proponents down here believe that the struggles are due to the fact that Santos has been playing at a low level for quite a number of years, and that it's an unreasonable expectation for Neymar to be able to raise that bar on his own. While there are others who believe that Neymar simply isn't the player that he used to be, and that it would always be difficult for him to get to the levels that he's supposed to. Obviously, they were drubbed good and proper by Vasco a few days ago, 6-0, with Felipe Coutinho leading that charge. And Neymar was in tears, and people are wondering whether this is the end. Of course, Ancelotti may not think so because he's been included in the preliminary squad for the next international break. So people are really torn about what his capacity is. My personal opinion is that he looks like a player that's in pain. Never mind not being necessarily back to his old level. He just seems like the way he moves, and I'm familiar, by the way, with this because as I age, I feel those pains every time I move on the football pitch. But he just looks like a player who's just in pain, and despite all the treatment and the care in the world, he just doesn't seem to be able to get back to that level that we see, and maybe not adapting his game to release the ball earlier and to be a different kind of player. So his struggles seem to be continuing.
And Bizo, one last question. Is Ancelotti going to take Neymar to the 2026 World Cup? Yay or nay, Mar?
It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say. I think. I think that he's being brought in now potentially to examine that possibility, to see if he can find a fit, find a niche in the Brazilian football club in which he's not a protagonist, right? And I think that's going to be key for Neymar, is whether or not he can play for Brazil without being the singular and most important point of attack, especially with his current physical capacity. Especially with the fact that he hasn't played that much football over the last 2 to 3 seasons. And obviously, technically, we know that he's a superb player, probably the best player technically in Brazil, despite his physical challenges. And so I think that's yet to be seen. I think it's complicated for Ancelotti, again, because is Neymar the kind of player who doesn't mind coming into the club and letting another player be the focus? Can he allow himself to raise the level of Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo and Raphinha and be in the background, well, that's yet to be seen, and I think Ancelotti wants to test that. If I were him, I probably wouldn't take him.